I believe it's increasingly important to engage stakeholders in doing things in a new and different and better way. And I want to tell you a little bit about it. My thoughts on this come from a few things. They come from a systematic literature view of faculty engagement and curriculum development. That was my focus in the end of my master's program. And they also come from an opportunity to critically kind of evaluate that work and discuss that work with peers that we're looking at student engagement. And we're looking at student engagement in non-traditional course delivery models. So that's where this comes from today. That's where this stems from. To set this up, I want to speak briefly to kind of our past state. And I think this is typical of a lot of what has been done in higher education and in other organizations as well. I think we could consider a past state of kind of this relatively small network of individuals, perhaps collaborating, working together. In the case of curriculum development, this falls under some criticism. The critique of traditional models of curriculum development is that there was at times an overemphasis of certain content or certain skills, and at times we failed to fully consider the future needs of our students. That's it's a tough goal. It's an ambitious goal, but I believe there's opportunity to work toward that in a more meaningful way. Speak to that. This is the shift then that I see us in terms of curriculum development, but in terms of much of what we do in higher education. And that shift is towards a more collaborative, a more networked, a more integrated approach, broader engagement, broader involvement of stakeholders for the purpose of innovation. Peers I was working with in my program described a need for new and creative solutions due to evolving stakeholder needs. And I think that so beautifully kind of captures what we're speaking to here. Other peers spoke to sustainable development goals as an institutional goal, and one of kind of the types of pressures that requires this systemic change. Others spoke to intercultural competencies as a institutional level goal that again requires this broader change, this broader engagement and involvement. So I think that's kind of setting up the shift we find ourselves in curriculum and in we deliver services across higher education. Drilling down a little bit, let me unpack a few of my findings from my work, if I can, for you. In terms of the strategies that were present again and again and again in the literature I looked at, and I looked at kind of the last 5 years, internationally, tried to find every scholar that had authored something in a peer-reviewed publication on curriculum development and on faculty, how faculty are getting involved in this. So there's this is kind of what came to the surface. Stakeholder engagement, I would say, was kind of underlying all of these strategies, integrated with each of these strategies that I've shown you here. Collaboration, absolutely, in terms of faculty getting together, in terms of faculty getting together with students, with industry, with those other stakeholder groups, but of course, faculty having time and space and opportunity to learn and work together, and learning, especially in that professional development piece, right? We need to set individuals up with the appropriate knowledge, skills, and attitudes to engage in this work if we're looking for increasingly effective results. And then change leadership was a necessary strategy, or a beneficial strategy, of course, right? Where we have some vision, we have some effective communication, we have some clear communication, and we're celebrating along the way what's working, and what we're doing well, and the accomplishments of those involved and engaged. In terms of kind of the value of faculty engagement specifically, this again is not unique. We want faculty to be engaged and involved in this innovative work because we respect them and their knowledge, their expertise, their subject matter expertise, their expertise as practitioners. We also want to empower them, we want to equip them, and we want them to buy into and own the process and own the product so that they can more effectively deliver this curriculum that we're talking about, again, within courses, programs, and on an institutional scale. And now to look at barriers or sources of resistance to the change and to the innovation we're talking about. We'll look at Kruger's model of change here up top. Time, quality, resources are typical factors, common factors, ever-present factors, it seems. And I'll speak to them in a moment, because underneath those pedagogical, philosophical priority barriers are the more substantive barriers that emerged in the literature I looked at. Philosophically and pedagogically, we need to understand and address, how these changes we're discussing, how these changes we're implementing, affect, the practitioners we work with, the faculty we work with as professionals, as experts in their disciplines, understanding that, there may be some discipline, some philosophical beliefs that are associated with that discipline, some pedagogical beliefs associated with that discipline, and we need to be cognizant of that and able to work that out, for the programs we work with, for the individuals we work with, respective of their disciplines and their courses. And then in terms of competing priorities and time, I was somewhat discouraged actually to see that this was identified again and again as a legitimate source of resistance, yet rarely addressed with proactive strategies. Rarely did we have individuals responsible or a project resourced in such a way that the time given to it was sufficient and people were pleased with it. So this can be a legitimate source of resistance. I'll just up. That was one substantive conclusion. There was another. There's a couple I'll speak to here. So in terms of time, I would suggest institutions need to be cognizant of the time required. Organizations need to be cognizant of the time required for change, and afford their employees that time. How much more engaged will our employees be if we give them the time required to invest and to participate in the changes, the innovations we're asking them to be a part of. And then with this in mind, kind of at a broader perspective, I think we need to approach innovation, we need to approach curricular change, cognizant of our, the culture we're working with, the context we're in, the faculty members, the disciplines we're working in, aware of and anticipating the sources of resistance we can expect, and then prepared to address those, prepared to support those, work within those through things like stakeholder engagement, through things like collaboration, within and amongst our faculty and perhaps with other experts, with other stakeholder groups as well, ideally. We need to address that through professional development. And we need to do so with a comprehensive kind of change leadership approach and change management approach, so that we are bringing people in, so that we are celebrating them and their work, and we are continuously, effectively, clearly communicating the value of the changes we're bringing and the initiatives we're bringing to our organizations. So thanks for checking this out. I look forward to hearing your questions, comments, and learning from your work as well. Cheers.